All right, so we are going to work on now addressing the squat from below 90 and working our way up. Understand that a squat is a eccentric or negative based movement, at least its initiation is. That means when we start, we're not, like I'll give an example of the hamstring and bicep. I'm not starting from a position of length and shortening. I'm starting from a position of basically relatively being in already hip extension, knee extension, right, and more or less ankle neutral. So as I start to come into this position, although the quadricep, although I'm going into relative hip flexion, this is stretching the glute by drawing the hip into flexion. And although my hip is going into flexion and my knee is bending, I'm stretching out the quad, and here I'm stretching out the calf. So the glutes, posterior lateral chain, the quad, and the calf, all these muscles, including the hammy and the adductors supporting them, have to work in a very decelerating pattern to get me down to the bottom. But for some people, we can gain some faster success by basically starting from the bottom up. So I'm going to use a kind of whatever squat. Doesn't really matter. It can be a very ugly based squat, right, to get down to the ball. But from here, or bench, right, but from here I want to address trying to draw the spine into extension, maintaining eye contact with the floor so I'm not looking up, eye contact with the floor. So I'm going to come up into extension, and I'm going to try to drive that extension into it. So again, if my squat looks really kind of crummy on the way down, because maybe I don't have the lower leg strength to support me or control, maybe I don't have the abdominal endurance or strength to control me, I can still use this starting point to address getting out of the bottom. So these are called prisoner squats. We just perform like so. Okay. How I'll want to progress the prisoner squat is I'm going to want to take a band, and I'm going to start first relatively close to the body. So almost like if I'm in a front rack position. So as I pull this band apart, I'm already getting my posterior delt, my rotator cuff, and some muscles right around the spine to engage and pull my spine into extension. So it's a progression to it, because now I literally have some resistance. So now as I'm resisting this out again, eyes are on the ground, coming up. Obviously assuming that the squat is improving, and that's why I'm using this. Now if I wanted for this to be even a little harder, the next progression would be to extend that lever arm and slightly come up. Okay. And again, all I would do to progress this is to go slightly overhead. Okay, and if I can get to a full overhead position, this band is really, really tough for me to do this with. Shaking here. Then we can do that. Now, one other way to progress this a bit more with an emphasis on the shoulder, right, and to get the squat stronger, is to do a pause and reach. This will get me a lot stronger in that front rack position. Okay, and obviously it's getting me a lot stronger in that lower depth position for the squat, so that eventually I can ditch the ball and I know how to get myself down to that depth with control, right? This is no control, that's with control, right? Big difference between here, me kind of bouncing on some ligaments and losing spine posture, which is going to affect my intra-abdominal capacity to hold pressure, especially if I don't have a belt. So that's where that ball comes in, to teach me how to properly pause, come in and out of that position. And obviously, if I'm not even going to do that, to just get better at doing prisoner squats, but without the ball.